Fanatics also reported a 100% increase in sales for WNBA specific merchandise. It started with Caitlin Clark. And so now that we know all of this, and we've known that for months, now we get to turn around and look and see what exactly is it that the league will do knowing that she's out for the next 2 weeks. I'm not saying I know for sure what's going to happen, but I have an idea.
Just when it seemed like the WNBA was finally getting its act together, just when it looked like they were ready to ride the Caitlin Clark phenomenon all the way to mainstream relevance and long overdue financial success, they let this happen. And by this, I mean the injury that has the entire basketball world, every analyst, every diehard fan, and even Stephen A. Smith himself completely losing it.
Unfortunately, though, the celebration in the WNBA, it was cut short yesterday afternoon as WNBA players learned the harsh lesson, be careful what you wish for. Headline at the New York Post. Caitlin Clark sidelined with Indiana Felines announcing shock injury. Keyword, shock. This injury was shocking, but not for reasons that you may think.
Caitlin Clark, the woman who single-handedly transformed women's basketball from a niche obsession into must-see television that has people canceling dinner plans, is now sidelined with a left quad strain. 2 weeks at minimum, they say. That's 2 full weeks of the WNBA pretending that losing their biggest star, their golden goose, their walking ratings machine, isn't going to send viewership crashing faster than a house of cards in a hurricane.
Everybody was moving Caitlin Clark games to bigger facilities because everyone was selling tickets. There were ratings. It was a ratings bonanza. Now with Caitlin Clark not playing, what do? Well, when you change your situs, guess what? You can't change it back.
Yep. The tickets are literally half the price, and there are entire sections of the stadium that have not sold any tickets.
And who's the first to absolutely explode over this? Who's the first to call out the sheer insanity of the situation? None other than Stephen A. Smith, the one man who's been defending Caitlin Clark from day one, while half the WNBA establishment treated her like some kind of basketball tourist who accidentally stumbled into their league.
Thanks to Clark, Indiana led the league in attendance both at home and on the road. The Fever averaged 17,035 fans at home and over 15,000 on the road. 4 teams moved home games to bigger arenas when Indiana came to town to accommodate more fans. That's about Caitlin Clark. How do we know this? Attendance for the entire league was up nearly 50% last year. According to data from across the timeline, and Indiana led all teams with an average attendance of 17,035. That was up 319% from the year earlier.
Stephen didn't just comment on Caitlin Clark's injury. He went absolutely nuclear. And honestly, it's about time someone did. While everyone else dances around the obvious, trying to stay politically correct and pretending Caitlin Clark isn't single-handedly carrying this league on her back, Stephen came out swinging with the kind of truth that would make a mathematician weep. We'll find out. We don't know yet, he said when asked how much of a blow Clark's injury is to the WNBA. But I'm going to be really interested in seeing what kind of effect this has on the WNBA's ratings, because if, for some reason, there's a precipitous drop-off, then everybody needs to stand down.
We'll find out. We don't know yet, but I'm going to be really interested in seeing, Molly, what kind of effect this has on the WNBA's ratings. Because if for some reason there is a precipitous drop-off, then everybody needs to stand down and recognize the fact that the speculation or the assertions and assumptions about her being the golden goose is validated.
Oh, Stephen, you beautiful, logical genius. Because that's exactly what's going to happen, isn't it? The man is practically sitting there with a stopwatch, ready to mark the precise moment the WNBA finally realizes they've been taking their most valuable asset for granted. It's like watching someone ignore a pot of gold while whining about being broke, and Stephen's the one yelling, "The gold is right there." Now let's talk numbers, because clearly some folks in the WNBA front office need both a calculator and a reality check. Games featuring Caitlin Clark this season have averaged 1.178 million viewers. games without her? A pathetic 394,000. That's not just a difference, it's a jaw-dropping 199% gap. A gap so massive you could drive a freight train through it. To break it down in terms even the most math-averse executive can understand, Clark's games are pulling 3 times the audience.
3 times.
Became the first rookie with at least 25 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in a playoff game. That was Caitlin Clark. Became the 4th different rookie to play all 40 minutes in a playoff game. That was her. I'm looking at other things. 6 different league television partners. This is last year. This is last season, because this is Caitlin Clark that we're talking about. 6 different league television partners set viewership records that year, her rookie year, for its highest viewed WNBA game. Do you know every one of those games, including the Indiana Fever?
But here's where things really heat up. Stephen A. Smith isn't just venting about Caitlin Clark's injury. He's been building to this boiling point for months. He's watched the WNBA fumble its way through handling the rise of their biggest star, witnessing legends like Cheryl Swoops treat Clark like an outsider instead of the league's much-needed savior. He's seen Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and other league leaders offer lukewarm support when they should have been rolling out red carpets. Now that Clark is sidelined, Stephen A. is essentially saying, "I told you so," but doing it with the dramatic flair only he can muster. He declared that Clark's status as the WNBA's Golden Goose is no longer speculation, it's a confirmed reality. And if her absence due to a quad strain causes a collapse in ratings, everyone will have to admit it and ride the wave she created. In plain English, the WNBA's ratings are about to nosedive, and Stephen A. is poised to use those numbers like a battering ram against anyone too prideful to admit what's been obvious from the beginning. He's going to watch, commentate, and collect receipts. When Caitlin Clark joined the WNBA, she wasn't just a player. She was a walking stimulus package. The Fever season opener against the Sky pulled in 2.7 million viewers on ABC, the most-watched WNBA game on ESPN platforms ever. That's not just impressive. It's historic for a league that's fought for visibility for decades. Yet instead of capitalizing on this miracle, the league responded with bland press releases and generic social media, like they were embarrassed by success, too hesitant to admit one player changed everything. Stephen A. watched it all unfold and built a volcano of frustration that's finally erupting. He's seen Clark pack arenas, break viewership records, and drag the league into the cultural mainstream, while critics downplayed her impact. He's called it out: the jealousy, the pettiness, the refusal to acknowledge that Clark's presence brought charter flights, surging ratings, and a wave of attention. Instead, some players whined that Clark was getting praise they deserved years ago. But that's not Clark's fault. It's about what she represents. Stephen E.'s point is clear: grow up. He's been defending Clark against a crowd more concerned with their egos than the success of the league. When former players showed resentment instead of appreciation, he clapped back. "They act like there hasn't been legitimate resentment," he said. And now, with Clark missing key games, we get to see his warnings come true. These aren't just any games. She's missing marquee matchups, including a rematch with Angel Reese and multiple nationally televised events networks were banking on. That's a financial disaster. The Fever aren't just losing a star player, they're losing their ticket sales engine, their viewership magnet, their merchandise queen. Without Clark, the Fever are just another forgettable team. And honestly, Stephen A. is dead right. People are already saying they won't be watching until she returns. That's bad news for teams like the Sky and the Mystics, who moved their games to large arenas expecting a Clark-fueled turnout. Now, expect empty seats and plummeting ratings. Most casual fans aren't tuning in for the WNBA, they're tuning in for Caitlin Clark. That's not an insult to the league. That's a reality. But Stephen Yes's biggest frustration is that all of this was avoidable. Not the injury. Injuries happen, but the way the league failed to protect its most valuable asset is a travesty. Clark has taken hits that would make NFL linebackers proud. Reckless fouls, flagrant contact, and the WNBA just stood by like it was part of the game. Stephen's likely been screaming at his screen watching a once-in-a-generation talent be treated like a crash test dummy instead of a crown jewel. It's corporate malpractice. The numbers back him up. Clark's final game before the injury, a loss to the Liberty, still drew 2.22 million viewers on CBS, the second most watched WNBA game ever on the network. In a loss, that's the kind of star power we're talking about. Now, imagine those same time slots without her. Try explaining to TV execs why ratings tanked. Try convincing sponsors to keep investing when the biggest name is on the bench. Stephen A. doesn't have to imagine. He's going to witness it, document it, and scream it from the mountaintop. And the worst part? This could have been prevented. If the WNBA had embraced her stardom, protected her from dangerous play, celebrated her impact instead of treating her success like an accident, this moment might have looked different. The Clark effect isn't about one player, it's a cultural shift. She brought new eyes to the game, created fans out of thin air, and turned women's basketball into a national conversation. Now, with her out, those fans will vanish. Getting them back? Almost impossible. The dip in ticket sales, the drop in merch, the collapsing viewership, it's already happening. The math is simple. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA's biggest box office draw.
Period.
Facts over feelings. Stephen A. understands that in a way the league's brass clearly doesn't. He sees that Clark is more than just a player. She's a phenomenon, a bridge between irrelevance and relevance. And with that bridge now under repair, the WNBA is stranded again. What's worse is that this outcome was completely predictable. When you've got someone pulling NBA-level numbers, someone shifting the narrative overnight, you don't treat her like a punching bag.
But the league did exactly that.
And now Stephen A. Smith is sitting with a smug, justified "I told you so" that'll echo for weeks, because when the ratings crash, when the numbers slide back to pre-Clark levels, he'll be the first to point out that this wasn't just obvious, it was preventable. Fans are already pulling back. Social media is filled with people pledging to boycott the WNBA until Clark returns. They're not interested in inferior basketball, as they put it. With Clark gone, ticket prices are cratering, interest is evaporating, and you'd think every player in that league would be praying for her quick recovery. Because without her, the WNBA risks slipping right back into the shadows. And who can blame fans? If Caitlin Clark was the reason they started watching, why stick around for anything less? It's like going from color TV back to black and white. Stephen A. sees it all happening in real time, and you can almost hear him warming up his voice for the most satisfying "I told you so" in sports history. Because this isn't about one injury. It's about a league that caught lightning in a bottle and somehow let it slip through their fingers. The next few weeks won't just test the WNBA, they'll validate every warning Stephen's been shouting since day one.